Welcome to Elevating the Culture, a podcast that explores the complex issues confronting Black men and the people who care about them.
So, welcome back to another episode of Elevating the Culture, the podcast that explores the complex issues confronting Black men and the people who care about them. We're in person. Mano a mano in the studio. First time in a minute. What's good, gentlemen? Mr. Adams, Mr. Brooks.
It's good to be here, live in the flesh for another episode. That's nothing more to be thankful for than that.
Talked about gratitude before we get on here.
Mm-hmm.
Even through adversity, Russell.
Yes.
Yeah, man, I'm on that line too. Like, seriously, gratitude, like, we here. So we just make it happen and it's all good. So yeah, that's where I'm at, bro.
So
and I just love the energy when we here anyways. Like, we always have fun when we connect, whether we're online or in person, but the energy obviously is just unmatched in person.
Yeah, don't speak for me. But okay. You have fun.
And we have fun making fun of you. So let's talk about the week. Anything going on? What's good? What are you looking forward to?
For me, I'm just looking forward to just being able to just disconnect. You know, we're getting to the end of the year, and just because it's the end of the year doesn't mean that like things always wind down. But you know, I'm looking forward to just disconnecting from the norm and being able to just do some stuff that I don't always get to do throughout the year. Like, you know, Christmas time with the kids, there's a different type of excitement that comes with that. And then also, obviously, you know, spending time with family and doing that more traditional cultural kind of community stuff is always something that I really look forward to, because that's, for me, where the real presence comes from, is just being with your people. So I'm looking forward to that.
I love that. What about you, bro?
I leave for vacation on Friday. So
right.
I'm looking forward to that. Getting away. Haven't been to an island in a minute. It's going to be a different vibe. Spend some time with my wife, some friends. Looking forward to that.
That's what's up.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. For me, it's, you know, closing in on some time off. And same thing around the holiday season, doing all those things, trying to do family, friends, community. But also, there's an anticipation of a break. So there's some anxiety around that. At least a lot of times I feel that at work. But also, because we're getting a break, it gets the vibes get a little bit lighter. The mood gets a little bit lighter. And I like that. Like, I like when people, you know, talk about spending time with family and friends and doing that. So it's not like we talk about that all the time.
Right.
So I like that part of, even with some of the angst, I just like that feeling.
One thing I would say too that sometimes I see happen, and even has happened for me in my own life, is like sometimes I feel like you get too used to the break or, you know, the downtime, that you break away from habits and, you know, rituals and things that were serving you well up until that point, you know, throughout the year. So like sometimes that, you know, that time off or that break can really put you in a really, you know, rough spot kind of when you come back to work or whatever it is that you're coming back to when you start off that new year. So sometimes you gotta be careful of how hard you go when you're on break.
Or go hard and maintain those positive practices that are serving you well.
Right.
And Malik, you made a good point. I think that we all have to be mindful of being intentional about spending time with folks. Start planning events now, as opposed to waiting for the holidays to arrive or having them pass by and say, there goes another season where we could have gotten together and didn't.
That's a great point. Because, you know, we always say, well, I haven't done this because I'm too busy. Well, for those of us that have the opportunity to have a break, what's your reason now? You know what I mean? There is no reason. If you're busy and then you're off, like, you have an opportunity to be intentional about making those connections, right? And we know how valuable that is as it relates to health, and again, especially for us, right?
For that. So it's that balance of ensuring that you have time for yourself and what you need, but at the same time connecting to others. Man, that's a perfect segue into the topic today, which is going to be developing a better relationship with yourself, assessing that relationship with yourself. That's a big topic, and I think it is universal. We all have those internal conversations with ourselves, those internal struggles with ourselves. We all have the judge and the critic who challenge our thinking. So with that being said, how would you assess, or what do you think about the current relationship that you have with yourself?
Listen, Russell got to start this one.
So what do I think about the current relationship I have with myself? I would say that it's definitely evolved, over the years, and it's gotten, to a place where I feel more in tune, more in touch with, who I truly am, and like the things that are integral, really being able to define what my values are, and, core principles that really just help me, move through each and every day so that I'm consistent. So I think that is something that has allowed me to be in a good place where like I understand myself better. I understand things like triggers. I understand, things that, recharge me. You know what I mean? Like being able to develop that relationship really allows me to know myself in a way that allows me to get the things that I need and to remove myself from the things that don't serve me. So when I was younger, I would stay in spaces and relationships and things like that a lot longer than I should have. And that was because I didn't have the relationship with myself the way that I do now. So, now I know when and how to walk away. As, when I think back to younger periods in my life where I would stay longer than I need to, and I would allow things to damage me or affect me, in a way that, just didn't really make a lot of sense. But it was because I didn't, know myself the way that I do now. I didn't have the level of self-awareness that I do now. So, but I say all that to also add that it's still a work in progress. You know what I mean? So like, I'm still trying to add things to it. I'm still trying to develop, in different areas. I'm still trying to improve. I'm still trying to, break things from my childhood. So like, it's going to be a marathon that's never going to stop. But I just feel like I'm in a good place. And I also have an idea where I want to go.
Wow.
Great answer, brother. Great answer.
I was, I love that. Just recently, and I'm still in the process of listening to an audiobook on Ubuntu, right?
Okay.
And Ubuntu is like, you probably heard of it because it seems to be more, you hear it now, I find, in more pop culture, which is I am because we are, like, Boston Celtics and other teams do it, which is funny because the lady's name, and I'll get the name, I can't remember now, but I'll get her name because I want to give her a shout out as the author, is, born, raised South Africa. So she's coming from that perspective, and that's the root of it. And she talks about a lot of things as it relates, and I'm only about halfway through. And there are some things that I find fascinating about it. And anyway, one of the things that she says is a part of Ubuntu is a person through other persons. And that struck me because I feel like it relates to me. And so, Jude, when you ask that question, one of the things I think about is, how am I to other people and how am I with other people? Because I believe it's a big part of my identity. So that's one of the main measurements that I use. Talked about it before, like, what is my reputation with people when I go into spaces? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it indifferent? All of those things. And so there can be, honestly, there can be a challenge with that. For me, it's a challenge if you're looking at that, because you can get caught up in it. Like, how are others seeing me?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so, so there's definitely a challenge to it. And I ain't going to be the first person to say that it's not a challenge. However, it is a part of my identity. And I try not to use it in terms of, simply what do other people think about me, but it makes me, act and respond it makes me just think of myself like, how can I really be the best person as it relates to other people? And again, have flaws, have failures, you know, you make mistakes, all of those things that come with it. But it actually helps to ground me. And then when I'm on, you know, to evaluate, I'll step away from people because we're all in people jobs, right? And so I'll step away with people. And I've always been like this, like I'm part introvert. So I have to make sense of the world being away from people for a little bit. And then I'll evaluate that and I'll measure it. And that gives me a good sense, I think, of the relationship with myself. So to Russell's point, it goes up and downs, like it's always a work in progress. But I think that that's helping me be in better tune with myself because that's a big part of my identity.
And so it sounds like there is some internal conversations and work that's going on, but at the same time, there's the external, taking the feedback maybe from other people. There was a quote that I think one of y'all shared from Viola Davis that talked about, it's not what you do, but it's how you make people feel through what you do.
Right.
Right? Makes me kind of think of that. What type of impact am I having on others? What impression am I leaving on others? And I think that that's important feedback. To your point, we can't get consumed by that.
Right.
But that's a great barometer of the impact or how we are presenting ourselves to the world.
What about you, bro? Like, how are you answering that question?
I'm answering it through evolution. What I will say now is that I like myself. And I don't think that I could say that in the past. There have been periods in the past where I know I was not able to say that. So I am learning to appreciate who I am. I'm keeping my word to myself, which I think is really, really important. Having integrity builds confidence and belief in yourself. So I smile now. I smile now when I think of that. So I guess that's the best way of kind of capturing how I feel about that question. Sorry, brother.
Oh, good. Quick question for both of you. I'm curious. Just heard something the other day, and it just made me think of this as we're talking through this. When y'all brush your teeth, what do y'all do?
On those days when you're intentional and on your shit, or those days where you just on autopilot?
Just typically, what does it look like when you're brushing your teeth?
I never expected this question, but here's like, I brush them. I'm moving around when I'm brushing them. Like I'm not staying in front of the mirror. Like I'm brushing, whatever, electric toothbrush. And then when I'm done, like, I don't know, I spit out the rinse. Like where was it? I mean, I know it's health, but hygiene, like dental hygiene. This is the dental hygiene session. Sponsored by Crest. The sponsor trying to get that sponsorship. Sponsored by Colgate.
I don't know if you can mention those companies, man. Are they supporting oppression?
I don't think they are.
No.
You want to get sued? Edit this out, Black Adam. See, this is how lawsuit comes. Right. You ain't got Crest money. Crest will chomp you up, man.
But if I'm being intentional, I'm not looking at myself brushing in the mirror. I'm looking at myself.
And
looking at myself.
And so what I was listening to, basically, this brother was basically saying how there's a lot of people that don't stand in front of the mirror because they don't like what they see.
Oh.
You know, and that really just, it sat with me because I thought about it and I was like, yo, not because I'm perfect, but like I can stand in the mirror, brush my teeth, know that I'm living with purpose and intention and, you know, all of the things that I try to, you know, consist of each and every single day. But there's a lot of people that like don't want to look in that mirror, even if it's just for however long it takes you to brush your teeth, you know? So that just,
wow.
So much truth in that.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to get clean teeth. So I don't know. I guess maybe I didn't go a deep dive on that question. I thought, but here's the thing though. One of the things you said also made me think about like the idea of, you know, and bro, I appreciate you sharing that. Like you didn't always like yourself, which is so interesting. The value of how we see ourselves. Because I've known Jude for a long time and I've always noticed that people have always liked this guy. Like it's when Jude steps in a room, it's a different energy. Like people like Jude, they want to be around him like he's a leader. So it's interesting that you can have two different perspectives that others are admiring him at the same time that he may not be feeling himself, and then going through the process that he starts to like and hopefully love himself. Like that's, man, that's heavy.
And Malik, that is such a fantastic point. There are so many men, right, who we believe got it together,
100%,
who are struggling.
Yeah.
Who are struggling. So again, it's the importance of reaching out, of connecting, of extending, of asking, not just what's up, but what's really good.
Right.
How are you feeling?
Yes.
Brothers, I got another good question for you.
Oof. It's a hard one to top that first one.
What's one area in your life you're learning to be more honest with yourself?
One area? So I feel like this is just like an expansion or just more broad in terms of like many areas, but just I've allowed myself to just be honest and say, I don't have all the answers. I'm not perfect. I'm not always going to get it right the first, second, third, or even the fourth time, and giving myself grace to be imperfect. And I think specifically around parenting, I felt so much pressure to be the end all be all. You know, I grew up with my father being present and active in my life. And I always told myself, if and when I became a father, that would never be my children's reality.
Right.
But that doesn't mean like I can be present every single day, but still make mistakes.
Right.
And for me, just allowing myself the freedom to do that, you know, because you need to have a level of freedom to be able to make mistakes and not be perfect, because the world is going to tear you down, but you don't have to tear yourself down.
That's a good point.
Sheesh.
It's a good point. It's a great point. Yeah.
Top that. Top that, big boy.
Can't see, that's the pressure that we put on each other. See, we're back to square one. Back to square one. It always comes around. That's true. And I think, and Russ, I like the thing, and let's be like honest. Like that is a fundamental thing I feel like all Black men think about, the fatherhood thing. Because again, what you grow up learning, a lot of times the images that come out about fatherhood, and it's not all negative. It's not all bad. Like, I mean, there was a lot of fathers. I mean, I grew up with my father, and there's a lot, and I was around a lot of father figures. So I don't have, and they're not perfect. Like no other human beings are perfect. Like we're not perfect. Right. But I had them, and I try to take good things from them. And so, I often think of fatherhood as well. I mean, we all do. We talk about, the importance of that. I think for me, one of the things, I sound like Russell now, for me, see, that's a rubbing off on me.
Where these shots coming from, man?
No,
it's all minding your own Black business.
That's a positive thing. He's rubbing off on me, bro. Like I never used to say that before.
Cool. Just didn't sound like that. Just didn't sound like something positive. That's all.
That's who you want. See, you're looking for combat. That's
Mortal Kombat, man. Let's do it.
That greases your wheels, man. For me, I'm trying to think of like why I do things and why I feel things, especially the feeling part, especially when I don't feel well. So really comes down to, where is that coming from? Where's that coming from? Why am I upset at this? Why am I irritated at this? So in counseling and therapy, one of the things that, we learned, or that I learned early on, is the question, what is this really about? Like ultimately, anytime you're engaging in that type of relationship with other people, yourself, that's like a fundamental question. Like, what is this really about? Like, dude, I know you're mad, but what is that? Russell, that seemed to trigger you. Like, but what's that? Where's that coming from? Malik, why are you get upset? So I try to do that as much as possible. And the good news is I feel like it's better than what it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago. But it's really to the point, and again, not perfect, but it's to the point that we always talk about, like it's trying to be conscious and trying to be intentional, like literally asking the question, okay, why are you mad at that, man? Why are you upset? What is this really about? Because that's not a reason for you to stay stuck and mad. It's really a simple thing. And so, and that doesn't mean I got to do a deep dive on it, because you can't get deep all the time. That's not realistic. but at least giving yourself an opportunity to answer that question. And I'll say more times than not, I can arrive at an answer that can help me get to a better, healthier place, right? Still work in progress, though.
Again, great point. That question evokes introspection and reflection. That's what's up, right? And you're angry all the time. So I'm glad that you're taking that seriously. It's good for everybody.
Just killing me.
In terms of honesty, for me, being honest about some of my struggles, right? Accepting them, which allows you to kind of work through those. And they don't have to be significant struggles. They could be those daily challenges that we're presented with, but being honest with them and maybe asking some of the questions that you've posed, Malik. What's this about?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how do you know when you are aligned with yourself or when you're feeling disconnected? What does that feel like? What are the indicators?
Well, I'll go first to this one. I mean, I just know I don't know if I'm ever aligned, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know. I mean, I can function. Like, I'm not trying to be funny. Like, yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I could, I get through my day. I don't know if I'm aligned in the way that I would ideally like to be aligned, but I certainly know when I'm not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's just, I think, some of the stereotypical things you would imagine, like, easily kind of triggered or irritated or not. See, you can't be vulnerable. See, people, see how hard it is for Black men to be vulnerable. You can't even be vulnerable with people
in a podcast that's focused on vulnerability.
You know what I mean? That's focused on vulnerability. See, you can't. But for real, that's like, I know when I'm like that, and I just, again, try to get out of it. But most times I think with success, sometimes not. And sometimes you just got to get out the day. Like, you know what, this day just ain't good. I just got to get out of this day.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? It just wasn't, let's chalk it up to not the best day that I've ever had. And let's just, let's start fresh tomorrow. Keep it moving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you just frame the question again?
Alignment versus.
Yeah. So just cause for me, like, what I think about is just how, like, I know my body, so I know what my body is carrying. You can feel it. When you're carrying too much, you can feel it. And how you carry it.
Right.
That's one thing that I notice more and more now is how I carry it, because, going back to some of the things that Malik referenced, like, if I'm irritable, I know that I'm not carrying, my life well in this moment. And if I'm not sleeping and I'm not able to rest, those are things that show me or tell me that I'm not carrying whatever is going on in my life well. And the other thing that I'll say too is that when you are doing the things and, like, managing, life and taking care of yourself, whether that's like combination of eating, exercise and movement, rest, all of the things that, make up how you take care of yourself, how you deal with opposition is different, feels different, because not every day is just going to be smooth sailing. There's going to be days that you just keep throwing punches. And when you're in a good space and you are doing the things to take care of yourself and the alignment is there, how you navigate that feels different. It looks different. There's a ease that comes with how you manage and move through, trials and tribulations.
Word.
And then when you're not in alignment, them trials and tribulations will, break you down.
Great point.
So that's where I would go with that.
Mm-hmm. I would echo much of what you said. And then attributes come to mind. Ease. If you're aligned and you're not disconnected, there's an ease about you. There isn't that dis-ease, right? Limited conflict in your thinking, or being able to manage that negative thinking that you're constantly confronted with.
Right.
When I'm in alignment, I'm good. Right? I can make sense of that. I can explain it away. When I'm not, those voices sound real.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like it's Malik in my ear, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. How do you treat yourself when you fall short of your own standards? When you don't meet the mark?
You start with that one.
Again, it's that attunement and being self-aware and providing yourself with grace. Understanding that we're all going to falter and that we're all going to fall. That conflict, that disappointment, that not being able to bring my best is part of the human experience. So for me, it's grace. It's trying to have reminders that allow you to provide yourself with forgiveness and ease.
Right. And this is why our interactions with other people are so important, because really, if you're able to give, to your point, if you're able to give others grace, you should be able to give yourself grace. And the opposite is also true. If you don't give others grace, you ain't giving yourself grace. You may play it off like you are, but you're not, right? So it's not one or the other. So, I love that. I mean, for me, it's really simple. I try to make it simple, which is, this may sound corny, but it's true. Tomorrow's another day. Like, I'm like, there's another opportunity to do better. Like this too, we always used to say this in our English department when I taught, this too shall pass. You know what I mean? We'd be so, Elizabeth Hughes, shout out to Elizabeth Hughes, teacher, she's retired, and she would also say, we complain about stuff, and she's like, yeah, Malik, this too shall pass. I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. And then also try to draw on the experiences of when we were able to work through conflict, which we all have. Like we're not owing a million for life. Like we got some wins, whatever they are.
Yep.
So count the wins and think about the wins and think about how you won. Right. Yeah. Like that's honestly what I try to do to be able to manage it.
Great answer.
For me, it's a battle. If I'm being honest, it doesn't always look the same. And sometimes depending on, what the goal or whatever, that was might hold more weight than other things. So sometimes I will sit in it a little bit longer. But one thing that I have tried to do when I miss my mark or, I don't deliver on something that I had as a goal or as a plan is I try to look back at like, how did I approach it? Is there something that I could have done differently? Is there a way that I can better prepare myself for the next time to ensure that I achieve or I meet my mark? So I try to do a lot of that stuff because, at the end of the day, I feel like I can't put this on anyone else.
Right.
So I just say like, what are the things that I can do?
Yeah.
And one of the other things is I do like when I journal. So one of the things that I try to do, intentionally and consistently in my journal is I try to like keep a record of some of the things that I've done, just so that when I miss, I can go back and be like, yo, but here's your highlight or your stat sheet,
Yep.
Okay.
So I think that those things are helpful. But again, it is a struggle at times because there'll be times where I feel like I'm in a good place and I've been really good at kind of making my mark on, the last kind of goals that I've had. And then you miss.
Right.
And then you're just like, damn, like I didn't see that coming, so I try to kind of move through it, with a variety of things, but it looks different every time.
And wouldn't you love to see his journal? I would pay great money to see Black Adam. Wouldn't you pay money? Like, come on, Black Adam. I think I would love.
Oh, you think it's gonna be cartoons and strickles?
No, I want to get some insight into his brain. And if that journal is honest, yeah, man,
you don't want that.
I have to get my hands on it.
But great answer, brother.
Yeah.
Rapid fire. What you got for your rapid fire, man?
Emphasis on rapid, Russell.
So one of y'all go first then. Set the tone.
Let's be honest, none of us are rapid.
What can you get lost in?
Okay, elaborate.
What can you get lost in? What pastime, what activity, What is something that you can get lost in? Time disappears. You're completely engaged.
Ooh. Ooh.
There's a lot of ways that I can go with this, but I'll say honestly, when I'm around family, I lose track of time. And sometimes I don't even care what time it is anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I might have said I got to be home by this time. I got 100 things to do. But like when you're around the right people, I can get lost in that energy, those conversations, and those, sharing of memories and stories and all that stuff. So easy to get lost in, the right space with the right people.
That was relatively rapid.
That was. He got his gatto. There's not that musket. That's what they're using guns, violent references. See, you got to be language. It's
there
funny.
goes another sponsor.
He said gat. I love that. And I'll go in a little bit of a different direction. Like I can get lost in, and I'm talking like movies, documentaries, whatever it is, like anything that's psychological. I can anything that's around how people think, whether it's fiction, like it's psychological thrillers or whatever, or it's a documentary. I'm always fascinated by how people got to the place that they did. So I could literally, when I'm alone, like sit down, I could spend 3, 4, or 5 hours just watching stuff like that and really get lost in it. And I mean, just because this is what we do on the podcast, like, I guess I'm thinking the health benefit to that would be to get some insight into how people think, even if it's dark stuff. And sometimes I'm attracted to dark, like not, I don't want to be dark, but like I'm just, but I'm just fascinated by that stuff, man. So I can get lost in it.
Lost in the dark arts, brother. I'm going to say coaching.
Ooh.
I can get lost in coaching. I was in a gym last night with 3 7-year-olds.
Oh, wow.
And it seemed like 5 minutes, an hour passed. I wasn't thinking about the time. I was drenched in sweat, and it was the best experience ever. So kind of being engaged with young folks.
Yeah.
Teaching, right? Some of those things that I guess I really value. Time doesn't become an issue. Evaporates.
I love that. And you know what? And we get, and again, like speaking life into people, a lot of black men do that. Like, we ever notice black men when they're around like younger people, like they grab them and what's up and how are you? Like, and you get a laugh joking, or you pick them up, or you ask how they're doing. Like, it's funny, like that's not always an image that maybe the broader world has of us, but we do that all the time. Like, we'll drop stuff when you see a young person and go,
yes,
what I'm saying?
Yes, brother.
I was at a basketball game last night. It was high school, but when a little kid was there, I grabbed him up by the scruff and said, "Boy, what are you doing? You're always on the court at timeout shooting balls." Like, it's just like, that's a big part of what we do. You know what I mean? So it's important. So I love that, bro. And I love your thing too, Russell, because that's the idea to know that we can have those experiences, because family's family, bro. Family comes with, you can't choose them. And it comes with all kinds of stuff. But the fact that you can get lost in it, you know what I mean? That's yeah, man.
Yep.
Go here, rapid fire. Okay.
So we've talked about different like genres of music and stuff like that, but and I don't know if this is something that y'all both are like kind of into, but mixtapes. You know what I mean? We talked about like studio albums, but I'm curious if you have like a mixtape that you would say was like the best mixtape, your favorite mixtape, one that just, stuck with you.
Oh man, great question.
That is a great question.
And I love music and I love mixtapes. And we grew up we grew up on the mixtape thing.
I can't remember one particular mixtape, but I will say the DJ Clue mixtapes. I think come to mind when I think about that.
Yeah. I'll go with easy route. Actually, here's what I'm going to do. So Canadian, I don't know if yet, Baby Blue. So coming up in the
Oh,
90s,
Sound Crew?
wow.
Baby Blue Sound Crew, bro, in the
Sheesh.
90s. Like because even though there was,
Thank you, brother. Thank you for that.
Clue and whatever, like first of all was Canadian, so we kind of had a little thing in that, and they were putting those stuff like, because they had everything in it, I find different than, for example, the American versions.
Yep.
They would have hip hop, but they would mix in R&B with it. They'd mix some reggae
Some
in because
dancehall.
dance hall, like, so Baby Blue, Sound Crew, shout out.
Yes.
Thank you for that memory.
Right?
Yeah, man.
Yo,
I'm telling you.
like that almost made me want to cuss, and I don't cuss a lot, especially on camera. But so
He does in person though.
so for me, like there's a lot of different, mixtapes that are like legendary and, came with a vibe and came at a time in life. But one mixtape, and it was like a series, but like Lil Wayne's Dedication, because I love that he took so many different beats. Like he even took R&B beats, like he took like classic hip hop beats, and like he just like went in on every single one of them. And like, it was fire for me. Like I used to play those on repeat, and yeah, it was a go-to for me. So,
Okay.
like that brother has been around forever.
well, he started when he was like
15,
right.
14,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, he was young with Cash Money.
Yeah,
Word.
for real.
Okay, so that's a hard one to talk because that's fun and that took me back. So let me bring it back down to earth. Let's do, you know what? I brought this one before, but let's do it. I want to stay with this theme of it can be anything. It's broad, underrated. Give me something that's underrated.
Something that's underrated.
Yeah, and it can be anything. It can be an artist, an actor, a practice, a movie, a show, whatever, an activist.
What's underrated? Oh my.
So
Jesus.
where my thought is taking me, like right off the rip, is just like the place that I want to go with this is just like, and this is like pretty broad, but just like the contributions that Black people have made to everything.
Right,
I just don't think that is celebrated enough.
right.
That's the first thing that came to my mind, because there's so many, things that Black people have done in terms of like inventions and just, so many things that don't get talked about. So that would be my first thought in terms of a response to that question.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that before, but that can't be said enough, really, because it gives us opportunity to figure out some of those things, right? And it's always ongoing.
What I'll say is the value of having kids in your life.
Oh,
Damn.
The value of having children in your life, I think, is underrated.
Mm-hmm.
The joy they provide us, the purpose that we derive from supporting these young humans, I think, is underrated. It keeps me young. It fills me. There's a sense of accomplishment seeing my daughter and others do what they're doing with their kids. I think it's underappreciated.
And if I can just add one thing to that I think is really important, is to your what you shared, Jude, is that the other thing that I would say, if you allow yourself, they can be the greatest teacher.
Oh, boy.
Because so many people think
Hands
because
down.
we're older that we know everything and that we're in a position where we got to teach them everything.
right.
If you allow yourself to learn from your children or from young people, it's a game changer. You can learn so much about yourself and the world just by having young people around you. So, because my kids have taught me more than I've taught them 100%.
Right. Right. I say this all
Fantastic point.
That's a great point. I love that, Jude, and I love that add on, Russell, because I say this all the time about working with young people, because that's my job, and they keep you young. I always say they keep you young because they do, but also you do learn a lot from them. Man. If you give yourself the opportunity to be open to learning, and I don't mean sitting down and listen to a young person lecture
advice.
I don't want no advice from it. But you know what I mean? Like just being open to you're not always pouring into them. Like you can actually get something from them. That's so true.
Yes.
I would say an underrated thing, and I mentioned this years ago, and I was thinking about specific people, but the older Black women in community, I find are underrated, man.
Jesus.
And here's why I say this is because I don't know if they could actually be underrated, but I just remember being young, and I just remember like older. And when I say older, I mean older than me. So when I'm a teenager, they're, in their 30s or 40s, or when I'm, they're middle age, like showing you love. Like I just remember going into spaces and they would show you so much love, especially if they thought you were doing something.
Oh.
Like, Russell, you're in school, really? Like, oh man, I'm so proud of you. And so come here. Like, or, if you were, working, or you were doing some, activity, or, especially involved in community. If you were doing something positive, whether you were or not, if they thought you were, man, they would show you so much love. And I remember years ago telling this dude, we all know Augie Jones, right? And I would tell him, I would say like his mom was one of those people. Like I loved his mom, Joan Jones. Like she was just so real.
Underrated. You want to talk about underrated?
Oh my God, just so real and so smart. But like she was, and there's a number of people in the community, but I remember telling him one time years ago, I was like, every time I see your mom, she makes a point to have a real conversation with me. And we'll check you only like Joan could and all those things. But like, there's so many women who would do that. And that's not to say that men or others don't do it, but I just find that's underrated, like the love they show.
100%.
It really hurts me to continue to provide you with compliments, brother.
I know.
But
that's the beauty of it.
Man, oh man, fantastic. Again, thank you for that, because they have been the lifeblood of our community.
Yeah.
And when you talk about a pillar,
for real,
right?
For real.
Yeah, man. So, what is elevating you? What's elevating you, Malik? What's elevating you right now, brother?
I'll just be specific in terms of where we're at right now. So I mentioned yesterday, basketball game at a high school basketball game. And so boys basketball and our team is largely young Black boys, adolescents, going into manhood. And that's elevating me being around them. Mm-hmm. It's always a challenge, man. It always makes me think of what I was like when I was 15, 16, 17. And I'm just like, you dealing with 10 or 11 of them right now at once. And it's cool, man, just to develop relationships with them guys. And I'm not a coach or anything. I'm just attached to the team. And so I always say I got the easy job, but sometimes a hard job. But that's elevating me, being around those guys, being a part of their growth.
With energy.
Yeah.
Man.
That's elevating me right now. They're draining me at the same time, but they elevate me too.
And what I'm going to say, it's elevating me, but it's draining me in another way. But right now, I love being around the excitement and energy that young people, like, Christmas, like my kids are 8 and 9, and like the excitement that they get over like the elf on the shelf and just anticipation of Santa Claus and all of those things, like that energy is unmatched. And like, it's impossible not to be fueled by it. But when you talked about draining, they're draining me financially, but it's so worth it. But yeah, like just not just my children, just other kids that, you go to the Christmas concert, you see these little kids' faces light up, and, they're getting a little bit of showtime, and I love that energy, and it just, it's elevating me, and you can see it's infectious on everybody else around.
Right.
Reading's elevating me right now.
Nice one.
Mm-hmm. Man, I went down that dark path of Afrofuturism, and now I'm finding myself.
You turned me on to it, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
Dragons with African tribes now, brother. I never thought I'd find myself here. It's a beautiful place to be. I'm gonna be honest with you. So, getting lost in books again, finding that has been good, because I was struggling for a while to find, get in that groove.
Are you an audiobook or e-reader?
I am audio all day long now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So 2 things. Let me challenge you. Nice challenge to don't do all audiobooks. Make sure that you read some things when you get, and I know it's whatever, but find space for that. And you turned me on to the futurism. When you mentioned a few podcasts ago, Octavia Butler, I got an audiobook right now. Then E.B. Zaboy.
Okay.
E.B. Zaboy did a thing where she put a bunch of things together. It was kind of like a biography about Octavia Butler. And E.B. Zaboy, I'll send it to you guys. She's doing a whole bunch of things. So I got about 4 audiobooks just ready to go for her. So it's kind of cool. And it's different. And it's different.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So I'm feeling that.
That's what's up.
That's nice.
You gonna take us out now?
The outro?
Yes, sir.
I didn't know what you meant by take us out. Because I was sick of taking us out.
Another great conversation, gentlemen. You know, highlighting the importance of, you know, the internal conversations we're having, identifying goals for ourselves, surrounding ourselves with good people who fill us up and affirm us. We got to have a positive and a growing relationship with ourselves. And to your point, Russ, having this conversation today, hopefully support someone in that journey.
Yes, sir.
No doubt.
Thanks for joining us, folks. Malik, Russell, we out.